Hey everybody, Rich, MSX 125 here, and I'm looking out 34 degrees in Rochester, New York. I don't know if you're getting a screen door effect out there, but I don't think I'm riding today. So instead, maybe I'll give you a quick walkthrough the Honda Grom, as it's known in the United States. In all other countries, it's called the MSX 125 Honda, and I kind of think that name's cooler than Grom, but they call it Grom. They even put a fancy little Grom name on it. But real quick walkthrough. When you buy one of these, you're going to tell yourself, I'm not going to buy add-ons for this thing. I'm just going to run it, beat it. But you know what? I found myself going to bed at night thinking about things I'm going to order. And there is a hell of a lot of things you can order. But first thing I did was go ahead and get a phone mount for it. And I looked high and low for something of decent quality, and I had parts. I've been a Ram line fan for a long time. It's made by Ram Products, and it's got a variety of things. I had a lot of parts, so it didn't cost me a lot. I brought the clutch lever mechanism that hooks onto the clutch mount. Worked really well. It's solid as heck. It goes right as part of the bike. Cost me $10. This attachment was like $5. And then the actual X mount that I got, I'll show you that guy. This thing's patented, and anybody who knows anything about phone mounts, this thing holds it like a gangbuster. I wouldn't go with anything but. Sorry about the garage being such a mess. It's wintertime man cave out here, so I get it cleaned up pretty good in the summer. I digress. Alright, but back to this bike. So that was the first thing I did. Then the very next thing I did was mirrors. Went riding a couple times. We took it out, and I tell you, I could not see behind me very well. And the mirrors are kind of funny looking. They're those chrome little round mirrors. People call them Mickey Mouse or lollipop mirrors. I didn't really get rid of them because of that. I really wanted the safety of mirrors that extend a little further out, and these guys have a much bigger area to them. Really happy with them, and to be honest with you, I don't think they look that bad. They kind of could get away with almost being stock. I think Honda would have done a much better job trying to put something a little more sporty on a bike that, has a little bit of kind of street, race kind of look to it, even though this thing's a 125, basically a scooter motorcycle hybrid is what I'd call it. But the next thing I did, and I think it was a real must, is only cosmetics, was getting rid of the fender that Honda put on this bike. To me, it looked like it was an afterthought for Honda. They came around, they made this Street Fighter look of a bike, and I think the 2017-18 did a lot better job with the plastics. So I just said, you know what, I'm going to go out for $79. You get this thing. There's a lot of manufacturers that make them. A real nice one by TST. It requires some cutting, and they don't give you an option for your stock lights, so you have to get the integrated. I personally like the stock lights. I like the safety of knowing that someone behind me on this little tiny monkey bike is going to see that I'm turning. There's no question about a little tiny thing that blinks in here. But I'll tell you, they're cool. I'm not going to mock anyone out that's got them, because I'll tell you what, they look slick. But I just didn't like the idea of cutting. There's a Neat Tails that makes a real nice one. Yoshimura makes a nice one. There's a bunch out there. This one was extremely easy. The guy on the video made it look harder than it was. I did it extremely easy, and I think I did a better job routing my wires. You end up with extra wire because you're bringing your taillights up about a foot to 18 inches, so you gain a lot of wiring. You got to reroute and kind of wire up in there. But it's not perfect. Not completely happy the way that meshes in on that, but people would have to really examine your bike and get real critical to complain about that. They fold the metal up around. Again, it could almost look stock. Real happy with that. So far, that's pretty much all I've done, but I got plans for all kinds of other craziness. In the mail, coming from Bangkok, Thailand, is the cheapest exhaust you can buy for this bike. It's the AR Donnelly Racing shit can exhaust. And basically it's just a real nice little header that comes back, and it's a little tiny 8-inch can that sticks behind here. Nothing more than really a straight through with a little cheesy baffle in it. It's like a glass pack. It's like an old 1970s cherry bomb is basically what it is for this thing. But the Yoshimura at $450, $500 and something dollars for the Brock performance one. I was just like, I can't do it right now. So I'm just going to run this thing and kind of see what happens, burn it up a little bit, have some fun. These exhausts don't require an ECM update that I've heard of. I'm hoping that's the truth. You don't want to lean these bikes out. It does take a while for the ECM to readjust to any modification you do. So I'll have to take it easy until I'm sure I'm not running too lean. You know, that being said, the next mod that something I'm considering, I don't know, would be to do a little something with the intake. I'm not sure what kind of lighting you're get. I don't have a viewfinder on this little tiny GoPro. But there's a big box there, and I've done a lot of research on that. The intake snorkel is on this side, on the opposite side of the exhaust, thankfully, but you're still going to get some warm air coming in on stoplights and what have you. But I don't think I'm doing anything with that. It comes in, it opens up into a chamber here before the filter, and then there's another chamber behind the filter, and as the air passes through the filter, it's in another collection chamber, and then there's I guess you'd call it a velocity stack that goes into your, you know, your intake, and at that point, I think that's where you're getting clogged up. It's at a very weird angle, but taking that off, I think is going to create more dirty air in there, maybe reduce torque, cause a much more leaning of the bike, so I got to be really careful what I do with the intake. I do definitely want to get some more air in there, maybe a K&N, or this stock filter has a mesh on the back that can be cut off and removed really easily, and it gives you a lot more air. The velocity stack also can be changed by an aftermarket one. The cheapest one is $50. It is a fucking rip-off, if you ask me. It's just a little piece of billet metal. It doesn't have to be metal. Plastic would be fine. But they're charging you way too much. Brock does that. And I tell you, Brock does a good job on everything they do. They're a performance-minded company. They care a lot about their customers. I would deal with them. Their stuff is just pricey. Guy seems really cool. That'd be my only other thing I might do performance-wise. I'm going to stay away from changing my, you know, mapping out, doing anything with the ECM if I can avoid it. So I don't want to do anything too radical. You don't get that much. Guys have gone completely bonkers on these things, short of doing a big bore kit, and only get like maybe 3, 2, 4 miles an hour quicker. Maybe lose a little on the low end because of torque reductions. You know, I'm not into that. So I'll just buy a bigger bike if I want to go that route. But so a couple other things. The 2017 to 2018 got really nice headlights. I mean, I don't know if you like this Transformer ultra modern look, but it is definitely an improvement. It's LED. The 2014s and 15s got the incandescent, which a lot of guys say is not the illumination that you need, and a lot of guys update those. Fortunately, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to keep this guy. Hopefully I don't ever have to change a bulb or whatever. That would be the one other thing that I'm happy about having the 18. I do like the plastics better on the 18 too. And also on the 18, most of you probably already know this, the 18s come stock with the low-slung, low-gravity center exhaust instead of the one that comes up sort of like a supermoto type exhaust. Kind of happy with that. It gives you a little lower center of gravity. A real good deal on that. Suspension is another upgrade people do on these, and I'm not in a big jump. I'm a small guy, you know, 5'4", 165, 170 pounds, and this suspension does okay for me. I'm not doing any wheelies, I'm not off-roading, I'm not motocrossing. But if you were doing any of those things, or if you were 6'2" and 230 pounds, the suspension might be a little soft for you. You know, Honda did it for a purpose. A novice rider can hit a pothole and not go into a power wobble or, you know, go into a crash. I mean, it absorbs vibration well. It feels the road very well. It's a good suspension. It just doesn't have the travel you would need for a, you know, to consider it a supermoto or what have you. But it does some fun things. You watch these people on YouTube like Fooligan and all these guys doing the wheelies and riding around with gangs of 30 people. It does look like a lot of fun. Brakes are something that people look to upgrade on these guys. I'm not going to jump on that, but one thing they say is immense is going with the braided lines. What happens is it just gives you a much tighter feel when the pads impact the rotors. It's a much quicker action to that. If you if you can see, there's not a whole lot of pad touching rotor there. And these pads, it is a dual disc. I'm not going to change these calipers because I really do like the look of them. They're dual piston. I think you get some decent pads on that thing. Maybe the braided lines, and that's after these wear out. I'm not jumping on that. I think you would be good to go. I don't think there's anything more you got to do. Single piston in the back, but it looks to be a little bit beefier, the one piston that's in there. And see how everything goes with those. Pretty happy with it. As far as the gauge system that they have on the Grom, real happy with that. Gauges look really cool. It's got a fuel gauge. A lot of bikes don't have that. It does have the sweep tachometer, digitally done. Miles per hour can be switched to kilometers per hour. It's got a decent clock on it. It's got 2 trip meters. So it does everything. The only thing I wish it did have, it's got a neutral light but no gear indicators. So, and as we're talking about gears, we could talk about the motor a little bit. A couple things likes about the motor is that it is a definitely low center of gravity horizontal motor. Honda's made these for years on their scooters and on their little mopeds. All the design is very good. It's a low center of gravity, easy to ride. But a couple things with this, it does have the standard 4-speed that a lot of 125 Hondas have. All the CRFs have those. They just love 4 speeds, but I'll tell you, I reach for a 5 gear all the time on this thing. You get to about 40, 45, you think you want another gear. Gives you a long RPM range in that top gear, so you can get it up to 60. So you figure if you need another gear at 45 and you can accelerate all the way to 60 with it, that's a pretty good range. It engine brakes well. You don't have to really rely on the brakes. You can almost stop this bike just by downshifting if you had to. Real simplistic design in here. I had wished they'd put an external filter, a different oil pump. You have to open this case up to do an oil change. Probably every 3 or 4 times you do an oil dump, you'd want to open this case up, clean out the centrifugal filter, which is called a spinner. And then there's also a screen that has to be taken out. There's a gasket in there, a gasket on the spinner cover that has to be replaced every time you do it. 9 bolts that have to be untightened, and then you got to put the torque specifications back on these. The clutch cable has to come off, and that's for an oil change. So that's another, come on, Honda. But, they made the motor simple, and it is bulletproof. It's got a, dual valves on here that are real easy to adjust from what I understand. It's not a complicated 4-valve system or anything like that. Shouldn't be a big deal. The exhaust I'm putting on is going to mount real easy on a 2018, also the 2017. With these low slungs, they've added a spot here on the rear set that allows you to mount right there. The 2014 is going to low set. You need to go behind the master cylinder for the rear brake, and then there's a strap that comes down that attaches to it. So you have to remove this, and I don't know, I'm just happier I don't have to deal with that. I'm just going to mount right to this, and all of them, Yoshimura's, and all of them mount to this spot here. And it just seems to be a little more sturdy and better. The main reason, I'll tell you that, if you look under there, and the main reason I'm getting rid of this exhaust is that catalytic converter. My goodness gracious. It is literally the size of one you'd find on a Honda car. And whether they did it for emissions, EPA, they had to by some government regulation. I doubt it. I think Honda just did it. So it does, it's fuel injected. It does have sensors. It has a map sensor in the intake. It has O2 sensors here right at the base of the head where the exhaust comes out. So it does have some modern stuff. So maybe the cat was important, but I'm losing it. 12 pounds, gone. Those little cheapy AR exhausts weigh about 4 pounds. So doing the math on that, you're looking at 7 or 8 pounds weight loss, which is, I think, a pretty good deal on those. I don't think you can complain with it. Tires, I tell you, I think you're nuts if you don't go ahead and get a little bit of an off-road track design on these. You're not going to race the Autobahn on these things. You're going to take them in the backyard. You're going to let the kids ride them. You're going to have it at the park, roll it up to the picnic bench. I think having a little bit of a dirt capability, maybe like an 80-20, nothing crazy. You're not going to motocross this thing. But just a little something so you go on the trails, maybe a little gravel road, and you feel a little more confident. I'm not going to upgrade these tires till they burn out, but that's going to be one of my deals I do also. Definitely do that. Pro tapers are a consideration. Right now, the bike sits nicely. You sit up on it. It's got a comfortable seating position. You know, the Pro Tapers give you a little better pull on wheelies, control of the bike, doing stunting. So it's definitely on the books as a consideration. I'm not jumping on that right away, but that'd be something I'd look at. Pretty happy with the seat. You know, I think it's a nice design for me, being, you know, the size that I am. If you're a taller guy, I can see the complaints that people have. The 2014-15 models have more of a banana style seat, which gives you the option to sit really anywhere on the seat. This particular seat, you're either sitting here or here. And I think that's you know, for me it's fine. I like my sitting position. I'm in a really good place. I'm not a real tall guy. If you were, I could see that as being a disadvantage and possibly a consideration to update the seat. But I wouldn't do it. The rear sets I'm keeping. I love the pad on the peg is really nice. The passenger peg folds down nicely, looks kind of cool. Not the best rear set in the world, but I'm not changing that. I think they did a pretty good job on it. The color's a little off for the rest of the bike, so I'll probably keep that. I tell you, these levers work really well. They're extremely functional, but again, they're chrome. Nothing else on the whole bike is chrome. I mean, these look like something off a 1970s, you know, CB 500 or something. I mean, they're just unusual. It's weird that they wouldn't have put a nice, you know, aluminum anodized, you know, shorty levers on there like, you know, all the guys run. I would consider it. That's definitely going to be a consideration for an upgrade. I would think that'd look cool. Just really set off the bike. Again, that might be more cosmetic than functional, but the short shifts are kind of nice. They're pretty cool. So suspension, I mean, Olin's, you know, you could spend a fortune. You better get your credit card ready if you want to update the suspension. I'm not. I'm going to run this stuff till the oil leaks out of it. Hopefully never have to turn that, you know, that deal ever going to change. I'm probably not going to put a Dynajet Commander fuel controller or any kind of ECM updates if I can avoid it. You know, you never know. I go to bed at night and I think about something, and all of a sudden I'm on eBay looking for freaking parts. That is how it is. So, you know, overall, really happy with it. I think it was a great choice for me. You know, some of you guys out there are gonna laugh at these bikes, or other bikers won't wave to you because you're on a little monkey bike. And that's true. It's not for everybody. And a first-time bike rider, this isn't exactly for everyone. I mean, you might want to go out and get yourself a Ninja 300 or a CBX 300, and, you know, especially if you're a young guy, got buddies that have big crotch rocket, you know, CBX 1000s and what have you. You're not going to have fun trying to keep up with those guys. My brother and me ride around. He's got a real nice Yamaha XT250 he rides with. We buzz around the parks. We do a little getting crazy and going a little off-road, driving closed roads. We do some fun stuff. So that kind of stuff's cool on these. If you think you're going to be a fooligan right out of the gate doing wheelies a mile down the road and all that kind of stuff, well, then God bless you. But if you think you're just going to ride around and keep up with your buddies going, you know, 40 miles away, you might want to double think this bike. But I'll tell you, it's fun. It doesn't take up much room in the garage. Starts right up. The fuel injection's great. I've been real happy with it. So that's all I got today. Sorry to bore you guys with that. I'd like to do riding videos, but the weather is shitty around here, man. Hopefully it breaks soon. Get this thing out on the road a little bit more. Clean it up, wash the dirt off it from what I got on there already. I'll catch you guys next time. Hopefully my videos get better. Sorry, I'm a newbie. I'll let you know. Keep an eye on this channel. Again, this is Rich, MSX 125. See ya.